Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss The Girl in the Spider's Web, starring Claire Foy, Sylvia Hoeks, Lakeith Stanfield, Svir Medicine, something like that, forgive me if I said that wrong, Stephen Merchant, Vicky Krieps, and Cameron Britton, and directed by Fede Alvarez. Now before I get into this movie, I shall admit I have seen a couple of this director's movies. For example, and I didn't care for either one of those two movies, so, well, you think he'll make an improvement of this one? Well, let's get into it. As a little girl, Lisbeth Salander, along with her sister Camilla, are abused by their father after they play a game of chess, and Lisbeth knew that her father was going to rape them again, but Camilla chooses to stay with their father, while Lisbeth jumps out the snowy window and survives and gets her on her own. And that sequence was just terribly shot. And there's not a backstory of how the character became the person she is today. There's no backstory of how she came to be in the last film, and there's no backstory here either. We jump to years later. Adult Lisbeth Salander, now played by Claire Foy, who I've seen and liked in this movie from recently. And she's known for this TV show called, which I've never seen that show, and I don't think I will either. And I honestly don't think she can pull badass off very well. And the first sequence she's introduced is also in the trailer, when a man who's never named, obviously he beats up his wife and daughter. And I said in the second Swedish version movie where it would have been better to grab someone in the feet, and I was wrong this time. It did serve him right when she transfers his money to his wife, but her as a hero, the answer is no. She's not a hero. She's a hacker. And as for Claire Foy, as Lisbeth, she's neither Numi Rapace or Rooney Mara badass. And I don't like how Foy portrays the character. She's given an assignment to kill Franz Balder, played by Stephen Merchant, whom I reviewed in these two movies. And I will review him again when I get into this movie next year. Who apparently has a MacGuffin of a son throughout the movie named August, who not only sometimes lives in Stockholm with his father, but lives in San Francisco with his mother. Meanwhile, Lisbeth hacks the CIA in Washington, D.C., and we meet Edward Needham, played by Lakeith Stanfield, who I've seen in this movie, for example. And I've surprisingly reviewed him before in this one, where he screams, "Get the motherfucker out of here," in that movie. But here, he's landed a very bad role as an agent who is trying to find Lisbeth. And is he really trying to help her? I mean, I don't. By the end of it, I won't even have a clue. Millennium journalist Mikael Blomqvist, played by Sverre Gunnarsson, forgive me if I said that wrong, who I don't know him in anything, but his partner / girlfriend Erica Berger, played by Vicky Krieps, who I reviewed in last year's Paul Thomas Anderson film, are not really acting like they're together, and they have no chemistry. But from what the movie is telling me, and it's been 3 years since the events of the 2011 version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and that honestly did not feel it. It felt more like 7 years in that universe, to be honest, and it just felt preposterous. Lisbeth wants to forget the past, but her past comes haunting her when some goons break into her place and blow it up, and Lisbeth dodges the explosion to go in the bathtub filled with water. Doesn't make any sense. to me, and the authorities, as well as Edwin, try to find her. And then as they get to the house and get her, or try to, and she rides her motorcycle on the ice, and I thought that felt very unrealistic. Like, she would have sinked and died at that point in the movie. Lisbeth calls Mikhail and tells him she's not trying to kill anyone and needs his help, which didn't feel very believable, particularly since they're talking on the phone, which in a different elevators, which are facing each other. And he helps her. If I were writing the script, I would have told him to say, "Why would I help you? It's been 3 years since you've called and talked to me." Like, this script is all over the place. It's a fucking mess. There is a female cop in Stockholm who I never caught the name because, like I said a second ago, this script is a freaking mess. And who does she defend and lead and led to believe it was Lisbeth who kills Franz? But it's a goon of hers, which is horrible. Which is a horrible scene, by the way. Because I can't see who's hitting who. The goon belongs to Lisbeth. The goon who belongs to Lisbeth's sister, Camilla, all grown up and played by Sylvia Hoeks, who I reviewed in last year's. And she wears all red throughout the movie, and I don't care if she kills Lisbeth or not at all, because the character bugged the shit out of me. Lisbeth hides August after that horrible death scene of his father and plays chess with him, I should say, the Lisbeth to August. And why am I bringing this up? Because Lisbeth played chess with Camilla as a little girl and but this time puts a bomb on it, which will explode later in the film, and I don't like that callback. It's ridiculous. Lisbeth finds Edwin at the airport and gets him the hell out of there after some cop arrests his ass, and security guards try to go after Lisbeth, and Edwin saves her ass. And I failed to bring up Plague, played by Cameron Britton, and I forgot about him because he has nothing to do with this movie until maybe at the end, I'm not sure. But when we get to the end, I don't care about him because he does nothing worth mentioning, I should say, except he helps saves August. That's the only thing I can give you. Camilla captures August and puts Mikhail's life in danger by her goons, and I still don't give a shit because this movie isn't holding my interest. Lisbeth goes back into the house where she briefly lived at and brings Mikhail, Edwin, Plague to save August. And Lisbeth, who breaks in while August and Mikhail are captured, and Plague waits and Edwin becomes a sniper. Camilla puts Lisbeth in a vacuum. Inside a vacuum, let me rephrase that. And I thought two things. One, how is she surviving? And two, how the fuck did she fit in that vacuum? It's bothering me. It made no sense. Like, Camilla's plot to kill Lisbeth and hack the world is all such a villain of a spy movie cliche. Lisbeth goes after Camilla to put her down, and what does Camilla do? She falls down into the snow on her own to her death. And I felt like calling out bullshit at that point, because that was a bullshit moment. August reunites with his mother while Mikhail writes a story of these term of events called The Girl in the Spider's Web and erases every word of it, and that's the ending, which felt very dumb, by the way, folks. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 3.1 out of 10. This is by far the worst Dragon Tattoo adaptation at all. The plot was a mess, the script was a mess, and I don't like any of these characters. It was all over the place, and I can't believe I ended this series on liking one of the 5 films. It's a shame. It's such a sour note. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me with the Dragon Tattoo series. And until next time, have a good one.